The first time my husband's sister called me poor, she said it with a smile so sweet it could fool an entire church, but her eyes carried the quiet cruelty of someone who enjoyed seeing others shrink. I remember the moment clearly, because it was the first time I felt the ground beneath my marriage tilt, just a little, but enough for my spirit to notice. "My dear," she had said, patting my arm like I was a child bringing raw plantains instead of ripe ones, "some women just don't know how to marry upward with grace." I laughed then, thinking it was a harmless joke. I was wrong. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, when everything looked perfect. Who I was before the storm. My name is Zuri Mbeki, 33 years old, born in Nairobi, raised between Kenya and South Africa. On paper, I was everything a modern African woman with ambition wanted to be. CEO of an interior architecture firm, owner of 2 boutique hotels, comfortable wealth I built myself. I didn't inherit a cent. I built everything brick by brick, client by client, night by night. By the time I met my husband, Tobias, I was already established enough to retire if I ever wanted to. But love blinds even the strongest. When Tobias came into my life, charming, smooth-talking, wearing loyalty on his tongue like a badge, I let myself believe that companionship was worth more than suspicion. He admired my drive. He called me my brilliant queen. He told everyone I inspired him. And I believed him. Oh, how I believed him. We got married 6 months after meeting. People called it fast. I called it destiny. If only I knew that destinies can also be traps. It began small. Little things you can easily dismiss if you love someone enough. Tobias became oddly protective of his phone, turning the screen away when messages came in, lowering his voice for calls, stepping out onto the balcony at strange hours. He changed passwords. He claimed it was business confidentiality. I let it go. Then his sister, Angela, began visiting more often. She had a way of walking into our home like she owned every chair, every carpet, every breath. She would open the fridge without asking, sit with legs crossed like she had paid the mortgage, and criticize everything with a sweetness that felt sharpened. "Zuri, your curtains are lovely," she would say. "Oh, you chose that fabric. Very bold, very brave." Or, "This table? I saw something similar in a budget store. Lovely that you support affordable brands." Little stabs, always wrapped in compliments. But Tobias never defended me. He always laughed it off. "You know my sister," he would say. "She just talks." Talks, yes. But words can be knives. Still, I tried to make peace. For the sake of marriage. For the sake of dignity. The dinner that changed everything. The real shift began the night Tobias invited his sister and her fiancé, Daniel, for dinner. We were hosting in our Karen home, a beautiful space I had renovated myself. Angela walked in wearing a gown that looked like it was trying too hard to prove something. She hugged me lightly. "Zuri dear," she said, eyeing me from head to toe, "you look comfortable." It stung. I was wearing a custom Ankara dress I had designed myself, fitted perfectly, elegant. But she always found a way to make me feel smaller. Daniel, her fiancé, greeted me warmly. A little too warmly, perhaps. "Always a pleasure to see you, Ms. Mbeki," he said with a respectful bow of his head. He was polite, professional, the type of man who measured words before speaking. We sat down to eat. The air was thick with Angela's comments about her upcoming wedding, her royal ceremony, as she called it. "I want everything top tier," she said. "That is why I've hired the most expensive wedding planner in Nairobi. Zuri, you might not know her, she only works with high-end clients." I smiled, sipping my juice. "I've worked with her twice," I said calmly. "She designed both of my hotel launches." Angela's smile froze. Tobias coughed awkwardly. Daniel glanced at me with an unreadable look. She recovered quickly. "Well," she said lightly, "I suppose even everyday people can sometimes access luxury services, if they try." I stared at her, and I felt it. The shift. The burn in my chest. That night, Tobias didn't say a word to defend me. Not one. A week later, the first Real crack appeared. I woke up around 2 a.m., thirsty. As I walked toward the kitchen, I heard Tobias's voice. Soft. Low. Hushed. He was on the phone. I told you she won't suspect anything. Yes, yes, it's almost done. Just let me handle it. I froze. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. Almost done what? Handle what? He sounded nervous. Not like the confident man I married. Then he said, "Of course I'll come through for her. She deserves everything. I just need a little more time." Her. Who was her? I took one step closer, careful not to make the floor creak. His voice dropped further. No, Zuri has no idea. She thinks everything is normal. My breath caught. I stepped back silently, went to the room, sat on the edge of the bed. Normal. Nothing felt normal anymore. A few minutes later, Tobias returned to the bedroom. He smiled at me. Asleep. I forced a soft yawn. Was just getting water. He kissed my forehead. Go back to sleep. And I did. But my mind didn't sleep at all. The second clue. A message meant for someone else 2 days later. Tobias left his laptop open on the sofa when he went to shower. He usually shut it immediately. That day, he forgot. Or maybe he thought I wouldn't check. A message notification popped up on the screen. Baby, did she suspect anything today? My blood froze. The contact name was saved as T Supplier 3, but the message, that was no supplier. I clicked. A chat history unfolded. Lines and lines of soft words, hidden affection, secret plans. Plans that involved me. Plans against me. Messages like, once everything is settled, you'll finally be free from her. And, I can't wait until she's out of the picture. And then the one that shattered me, don't worry, once I get full access, I'll transfer everything. Trust me. Full access? Transfer everything? To who? And why? My hands trembled. I heard the shower stop. Panic surged. I closed the laptop quickly, placed it exactly where he left it, and hurried to the kitchen, pretending to look for something. My heart was racing like a drum. He walked in moments later, towel around his waist, humming. He had no idea what I had seen. But I knew this was no random message. This was betrayal. Deep. Calculated. Cold. Yet I still didn't know who the woman was. Not his co-worker. Not a stranger. Someone close. Someone dangerous. As if the universe wanted to add fuel to the fire, Angela intensified her visits. Every other day, she would show up, sometimes unannounced, sometimes with a forced excuse. Each time, she found a new way to belittle me. Once, she walked through the house as if inspecting it. "You have nice taste," she said. Simple. Not what wealthy people usually choose, but simple can also be cute. Another time, when Tobias was present, "Brother, you should have married someone from a more established background. But love is love, right?" Tobias laughed. He actually laughed. I felt something inside me begin to crack, slowly, painfully. Daniel continued being polite, always observing silently. Unlike Angela, he never made unnecessary comments. But he watched. A little too closely. One evening, Angela threw a birthday dinner at an expensive restaurant in Westlands. We were invited, of course. She wanted an audience. The moment we arrived, she started. "Oh, Zuri," she exclaimed loudly, "I didn't expect you to wear something so understated. But it's good you're comfortable in your lane." People laughed. My chest tightened. Tobias whispered, "Let it go." I did. Until dinner ended. That was when it happened. She made a toast. "To my dear fiancé," she said dramatically, "who has shown me what real love, real status, and real class look like." Then she smiled sweetly at me. It's not everyone who can understand this kind of life. I felt everyone's eyes on me. Whispers. Small chuckles. I stood up to excuse myself, pretending to take a call. Outside, the cold air slapped my cheeks. I leaned against a pillar and let out a long breath. This wasn't just pettiness. This was targeted humiliation. And Tobias encouraged it through silence. Something deeper was happening. Something dark. And I needed proof. Real proof. The third clue, a hidden email thread one afternoon, while Tobias was at work, I checked his home office. I didn't snoop randomly. I looked only where clues already pointed. Inside an unlocked drawer, I found a printed email thread. The same name appeared repeatedly, A.A. Angela Aking, his sister. An icy chill traveled down my spine. I read the emails. Cold. Strategic. Talking about arrangements, timelines, asset transitions. One line hit me like a spear. We need the documents signed before she notices anything. The travel excuse is perfect. Keep her distracted. Travel excuse. I had no travel plans. Then another email from Tobias to Angela. Once it's done, we'll all be better off. She won't fight it. She trusts me too much. The paper slipped from my hands. All the pieces snapped into place. My husband, his sister, working together, against me, planning something involving my assets, my wealth, my life. I couldn't breathe. This was not just betrayal. This was a quiet war. I confronted him, and he lied without blinking that night. I faced him. Tobias, I said, voice steady despite the storm raging inside me, is there something you want to tell me? He looked up from his phone lazily. About what? Your late-night calls. Your messages. Your sudden secrecy. His expression didn't change. You're overthinking. And your sister, I added softly. Why is she suddenly so invested in our lives? He shrugged. You're imagining things. No, I'm not. He sighed dramatically. Then he said the line that finally broke something in me. Zuri, not everything is about you. Stop being paranoid. Paranoid. A word used to silence a woman who notices too much. I stared at him. In that silence, I saw a man who had already emotionally left the marriage. I saw a stranger. The fiancé's unexpected warning 3 days later, someone called me. Daniel. Angela's fiancé. He rarely contacted me directly. His voice was calm. Mrs. Mbeki, he said carefully, can we talk privately? It's important. I felt my heartbeat shift. Talk about what? He hesitated. It concerns certain plans being made. Plans you may not be aware of. Cold washed over me. Whose plans? I asked. He exhaled softly. Tobias and Angela. My chest clenched. How do you know about this? Because, he said, voice low, they think I'm on their side. But you're not. No, he said firmly. Not when malice is involved. And what they're planning, it's not small, Mrs. Mbeki. I swallowed hard. What exactly are they planning? He paused. Then he said one sentence that made my knees weaken. They're planning to take everything from you. Everything. My hotels. My assets. My company. My home. My reputation. He continued, before I explain more, we need to meet in person. They must not know I warned you. My breath shook. When? Tomorrow. Somewhere quiet. I agreed. He ended with, and Zuri, be careful tonight. They're accelerating their timeline. I stood frozen long after the call ended. Burning. Shivering. Breaking. Strengthening. The next evening, just before I left the house to meet Daniel, I passed Tobias in the living room. He wasn't alone. Angela was sitting beside him, looking strangely triumphant. They both fell silent when I entered. Tobias forced a smile. Going somewhere? Yes, I replied calmly. Just a meeting. Business? He asked, watching me too closely. I nodded. Angela smirked. A meeting at night? Interesting. Her tone was sharp. Suspicious. Almost threatened. For a moment, all three of us stared at each other. Then, as I picked up my keys, I saw something on the dining table. A printed document. My name. My signature. Copied. A transfer authorization. My blood ran cold. I turned slowly to look at Tobias. He stood up, taking one step toward me, and in a low, chilling voice he said, Zuri, we need to talk. My heart slammed against my ribs, because I knew, he knew, that I knew. When Tobias said, Zuri, we need to talk, my breath snagged in my throat. His tone wasn't his usual calm, rehearsed charm. No, this was different. It was the voice of a man whose plans had reached the point of no return. Angela shifted in her seat, watching me like a cat observing a trapped bird. She didn't speak, but her smirk said enough. I forced a soft smile. Sorry, Tobias. I'm late for a meeting. We'll talk when I return. I stepped past him. He stepped in front of me. Zuri, I insist. His insistence was not love. It was control. I knew I couldn't show fear. Not now. Not when the battlefield had just become visible. So I tilted my head, pretending to be confused. Is something wrong? His eyes narrowed, searching my face, trying to read me, trying to see if I knew. Angela stood up too, her handbag dangling from her wrist like she was already preparing to celebrate my downfall. She spoke before he could answer. We just need your signature on something. It's for a family investment Tobias is leading. I forced a small, polite laugh. Ah, I see. I picked up my handbag. I told Tobias earlier, I'll look at any documents after my meeting. Not now. Angela took 2 steps closer. It's just one signature. Not even 2 minutes. I leaned in and whispered through a slow smile. Then you both can wait 2 minutes, or 2 hours, until I return. Isn't family supposed to be patient? Her face hardened, but I didn't stay long enough to enjoy the tension. I simply walked out, calmly, gracefully, even though inside me everything was shaking. We met at a quiet rooftop lounge in Lavington, private, dim, perfect for secrets. Daniel was already seated, his back straight, his expression troubled. When he saw me, he stood. Thank you for coming, he said softly. I sat opposite him, the city lights glowing like scattered stars between us. You said they're planning to take everything, I began. He nodded slowly. I've been hearing bits and pieces for weeks. Angela trusts me too much. She talks when she's angry, she talks when she's proud, she talks when she's scheming. And Tobias confides in her more than he confides in you. His words stung, but I let them. What exactly are they planning? Tell me everything. He inhaled deeply. Then he said it. They're trying to reroute your company shares, assets, and property rights into a trust that puts Tobias as primary guardian. They want you legally incapacitated from making independent financial decisions. My heart dropped. On what grounds? I whispered. On the grounds that you're unstable, he said carefully. They've gathered statements, manipulated incidents, they're building a case. I stared at him. Unstable? Me? The woman who rebuilt her life with her bare hands? The woman who managed dozens of employees across 3 industries? Daniel's voice was calm but heavy. Angela told me 2 nights ago that they want everything finalized before their wedding. They expect your signature soon. Voluntarily, ideally. If not, Tobias has another plan. What plan? I breathed. Daniel hesitated. He looked genuinely uncomfortable. He wants to take you on a business trip. A short one. Somewhere without friends or family. Somewhere you can't easily reach help. He paused. Somewhere he can force the signatures. A cold wave moved through my body. Slow, suffocating. Daniel continued, and Angela, she wants you out of the picture before the wedding. She told Tobias that your presence ruins their family image. My jaw clenched. Of all the betrayals, that one hurt differently. Because I had treated Angela like a sister. I respected her. I supported her engagement. I attended her events. I welcomed her into my home. And she planned to erase me. I swallowed. Why are you telling me this? I asked quietly. Daniel leaned forward, his voice low. Because I don't support evil. And because I owe you. Owe me? For what? He exhaled a shaky breath. Before Angela and I got engaged, you unknowingly helped me. I frowned. How? You contracted my construction firm when no one else would. Your hotel project saved my company from collapsing. Without you, I wouldn't have the business I have today. I blinked, surprised. I didn't know. You never asked for credit, he said. You simply paid fairly, treated us with dignity, and recommended us to 2 other clients. You changed my life. So when I learned what my fiancé was planning against you, I couldn't keep quiet. For the first time that night, I felt emotion swell in my chest, something warm, painful, and grateful. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded. But you need to move fast, Zuri. They're accelerating everything. I steadied myself. What do I need to do? Daniel lowered his voice further. Protect your assets. Quietly. Tonight. When I left the rooftop, I didn't go home. I drove straight to my office building. My night guard, Musa, greeted me respectfully. Late night, madam? Just need to finish something urgent, I told him. Inside my office, the silence felt like armor. I pulled out my laptop and logged into my private financial dashboard, the one Tobias didn't know existed. I moved quickly, transferred company shares into a separate trust under my maiden name, shifted liquid assets into accounts only accessible by biometric verification, instructed my lawyer to freeze any attempted changes to my property documents, updated my will, locking out any spousal claims without my explicit approval. Then I called my CFO, a woman I trusted with my life. "Activate Protocol Amber," I said. She didn't ask questions. She only said, "Understood." Protocol Amber was an emergency measure we designed long ago for hostile takeovers, but never imagined I'd use to protect myself from my own husband. By the time I finished, it was nearly midnight. I drove home slowly, carefully, mentally bracing for the next blow. When I entered, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Tobias sat on the sofa, staring at the doorway as though he'd been waiting for hours. Angela was gone. He stood as soon as I stepped in. "You were out long." "Work," I said. He studied me, his eyes cold. "You were meeting someone." "Work," I repeated calmly. There was a pause, thick, heavy. Then he said, "Zuri, I think you should stop making independent decisions until we've structured things properly." My breath stilled. "What things?" "Our finances. Our future. Our. I cut in gently. "Or yours." His jaw twitched. "You're being difficult." "I'm protecting myself." "From what?" he snapped. I looked him dead in the eye. "From whatever you're planning with Angela." For the first time in months, true fear flashed in his eyes. Just a flicker. But I saw it. He masked it quickly. But it was too late. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. I smiled slowly. "You never were good at lying, Tobias. Your eyes always betray you." He stepped closer. "You're overreacting." "No," I said calmly. "I'm finally reacting." His phone buzzed. He looked down. A message preview flashed on the screen. A.A. Did she sign anything? He turned the screen face down instantly, but the damage was done. We stared at each other for several long seconds. Then I walked past him, straight to the bedroom. We both knew. The war had officially begun. The next morning, he followed me around the house like a shadow. "Where are you going? Who are you calling? Why did you change your laptop password? Why did you remove the shared access on the bank account?" His voice trembled with rising anxiety. Good. Let him feel a taste of what he planned for me. At noon, he tried to act soft. "Zuri," he said gently, "I think we should take that trip I mentioned. Just the two of us. A break." I smiled politely. "What a lovely idea. But I'm unavailable for the next 3 months." His face dropped. 3 months. "I've just launched a major project." "What project?" "The kind you can't access," I said quietly. His eyes sharpened. Suspicion turning into anger. "What did you do?" "Protected what's mine." He inhaled sharply. "Zuri, don't make this ugly." "It became ugly," I replied, "the moment you and your sister planned to take everything from me." His posture stiffened. "You don't have proof." I tilted my head. "Oh, Tobias, I have more proof than you can imagine." He froze. That was the moment he realized. He had underestimated me. Fatally. That evening, I met with my lawyer and 2 of my most loyal managers. I didn't disclose everything, just enough for them to know I needed protection and privacy. Then I began setting my revenge into motion. Not loud revenge. Not messy revenge. Not dramatic revenge. Strategic. Silent. Legal. Intellectual. And perfectly justified revenge. I started with 3 steps. Every account Tobias could access was drained, safely, legally, into secure business vaults. He woke up the next day confused, checking his banking apps repeatedly. Then angry. Then frantic. He attempted to call my CFO. She ignored him. He tried emailing my board. They bypassed him. He tried accessing documents. Every attempt was denied. I anonymously leaked a tip to the regulatory authority about suspicious document requests involving marital property. Nothing illegal. Just enough to raise eyebrows. Just enough to slow down whatever he was trying to do. His frustration grew by the hour. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more powerful African tales. Angela joins the fight when Tobias couldn't break through my defenses. He brought in the person who started the war, Angela. She stormed into my home like a woman possessed. "Zuri, she barked. What nonsense are you pulling? I didn't look up from my laptop. Kindly lower your voice. This is my house, not a fish market. She gasped. Tobias said you're blocking access, correct? You're sabotaging everything, incorrect. You can't do this, she shouted. I finally looked up. Angela, I said softly, you call me poor every chance you get. Why do you want my assets so desperately? Her face twisted. This isn't about assets. This is about family alignment. Ah, I smiled, and alignment requires stripping me of everything I've earned? Her voice faltered. I continued, voice calm and cold. You should have chosen a different enemy. One less educated. One less strategic. One less prepared. She stepped back slightly. Just slightly. But enough. Then she hissed, you think you've won? Tobias is not a man you should provoke. I tilted my head. And you think I'm a woman he should have provoked? Silence. For the first time, she had no comeback. She left abruptly. But her departure didn't ease the air. No. It made everything worse. Because an hour later, Daniel called again. His voice was urgent. Zuri, listen to me carefully. Tobias and Angela have changed their plan. I felt a slow chill spread inside me. What plan? They're no longer waiting for your signature. Then what are they planning? Daniel paused. His voice was grave. They want to force you into a legal trap. They're meeting with someone tonight. Someone powerful. Someone who can help them fast-track the process. My pulse hammered. Who? Daniel swallowed. You won't believe this, but Angela's fiancé's father. Your future father-in-law? Yes, and he's a senior legal commissioner. He can accelerate things if he thinks it's for Angela's benefit. He believes Angela is marrying into a lesser family and wants her to be protected. I closed my eyes. Of course it was bigger than I thought. I opened them slowly. What time is this meeting? In 1 hour, Daniel said. At his father's private office. I breathed in. Deep. Steady. Controlled. Then I need to be there, I said. Daniel hesitated. It may be risky. It will be necessary. And with that, I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. But as I stepped outside, I saw Tobias standing next to my car. Arms crossed. Face unreadable. Eyes dark. He looked at me. Then he said quietly, we're going together. I froze. How did you know I was leaving? He smiled. A slow, frightening smile. Because, Zuri, we're done pretending. My heart pounded. This was it. The moment the betrayal would reveal its full shape. Then he opened the passenger door. Not as a gentleman. No. As a captor. Get in. And in that terrifying silence at the edge of the driveway, I realized Tobias wasn't losing control. He was escalating. Tobias stood beside my car like a man who believed the world still bent for him. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. He didn't touch me. He didn't need to. His calmness was the threat. Get in, he repeated. I looked at him, really looked, and I saw it clearly. He had already decided who I was. A pawn. A stepping stone. A woman to be shifted aside when convenient. But I was not the woman he thought I was. I unlocked the car without a word and got in. Not because he controlled me, but because I controlled the outcome. He entered the passenger seat, giving me a tight smile. You and I need to align our stories before we meet. I started the engine. We're not telling the same story, I said plainly. He ignored that. Typical. We're meeting a key person tonight, he continued. Someone who can help resolve things. Resolve? What, exactly? Our marriage complications, he said lightly. And your emotional instability. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. Emotional instability? I repeated softly. He nodded with confidence. A few signed documents, a few testimonies. The commissioner will understand why you should not handle large assets right now. And you're the one to handle them? I'm your husband, he said simply. It's my responsibility. Responsibility. A pretty mask on an ugly intention. I didn't argue. I just drove. Let him think he was winning. Let him think he still had control. He would learn soon enough. that the trap he designed was already closing on him. When we arrived at the commissioner's office, Daniel was waiting in the shadows of the parking lot. He looked relieved to see me alive. But when he saw Tobias, his jaw tightened. I lowered my window. Tobias insisted on coming, I said quietly. Daniel spoke carefully. Are you sure you want to go in with him? Yes. Because everything I needed was inside that building. Everything. Tobias stepped out confidently, straightening his jacket. He believed this night would hand him everything he wanted. He had no idea it would destroy him. We walked in. The commissioner, Daniel's father, sat at his enormous desk, spectacles perched on his nose, papers arranged with military precision. He was a tall man, dignified, the kind whose presence filled a room effortlessly. When he looked at me, his expression was polite but distant. But when he looked at Tobias, he nodded warmly. Tobias, he greeted. You said this was urgent. Then he glanced at me with rehearsed sympathy. Mrs. Mbeki, please sit. I understand we're resolving a delicate issue. I didn't sit. Instead, I placed a folder gently on his table. What issue, I asked calmly, are you referring to? The commissioner blinked. Tobias shot him a quick look, signaling him to continue. Your husband says you've become overwhelmed, he explained, and it may be best to temporarily transfer certain financial responsibilities. I tilted my head. Oh, did he also tell you I built everything myself? The commissioner stiffened. Tobias cut in quickly. Zuri, please. We discussed this. We didn't, I said. And we never will. The commissioner cleared his throat. I have documents Tobias presented. Forged documents, I corrected. Silence. Thick. Sudden. The commissioner looked between us. Forged. Yes, I said, voice calm, steady, unshaken. Forged in my name. Without my consent. Tobias shifted in his seat. Zuri, don't turn this into drama. I opened the folder, pulled out 7 sheets, and placed them one by one on the table. Emails, screenshots, recorded messages, financial requests, the transfer draft with a fake signature. Everything. The commissioner's eyes widened slowly, shock spreading across his face. Tobias, he said slowly, do you know what this is? Tobias swallowed. A hard, dry swallow. Fabrication, he muttered. She's trying to. She found the emails in your home office, Daniel cut in coldly from the doorway. Tobias jerked his head in shock. He hadn't seen Daniel enter. And she showed me, Daniel continued, his voice sharp. Your sister told me everything. I warned you both this was wrong. Tobias jumped to his feet. Daniel, you betrayed us. You, sit down, the commissioner thundered. The room shook with his authority. Tobias, panicked, obeyed instantly. The commissioner now turned to me, voice measured. Mrs. Mbeki, you said these emails were printed by your husband. Yes. And these financial plans? Discussed with his sister. Behind my back. And this attempted signature transfer? I nodded. He inhaled, closing his eyes as though trying to calm a rising storm. Then he spoke in a low, firm tone. Zuri, I sincerely apologize. I did not know this meeting was built on deceit. I nodded respectfully. Thank you. The commissioner then turned to Tobias, disappointment radiating from every line in his face. You misrepresented everything, he said slowly. You used my office, my name, to commit fraud. Tobias stammered. I was trying to protect the family. She has more money than all of us combined. That is no justification, the commissioner cut in. You could be charged. Charged? Tobias gasped. You wouldn't. You forged your wife's signature, the commissioner said coldly. You intended to coerce her into surrendering her assets. That is criminal. Tobias's face drained of color. He looked at me then, really looked. Fear. Real fear. You wouldn't report me, he said weakly. I didn't answer. His voice cracked. Zuri, please. But it was too late. He was falling. And he knew it. The commissioner rose to his feet. Leave my office, he told Tobias. Both you and Angela. Tobias's mouth hung open. Angela wasn't. The commissioner glared. Don't insult my intelligence. Daniel told me everything. Daniel stood taller. Tobias trembled. Not from anger. from the weight of his own ruined plans. He finally stepped toward me. Zuri, look, I made mistakes, but we can fix this. I turned away. We were supposed to be a team, he whispered desperately. I faced him again. You stopped being on my team the moment you plotted to destroy me. He reached for my arm. Daniel stepped between us instantly. No touching, he said firmly. Tobias froze. The commissioner pointed to the door. Get out. Tobias staggered back. He looked small, powerless, unraveled. He left without another word. The next morning, Angela arrived at my office breathing fire. She barged in. How dare you go to the commissioner? She shouted. You humiliated my family. I didn't bother standing. Angela, I said calmly, you humiliated your own family. You ruined our plans. Correction, I ruined your plans. She paced angrily. My fiancé's father thinks I'm irresponsible. He thinks I'm greedy. He thinks I'm manipulative. I blinked slowly. Well, I said, at least he thinks correctly. She gasped. You think this makes you powerful? No, I said gently. This makes me free. I walked around the desk until I stood directly in front of her. You had a chance to be my sister. I gave you respect. I welcomed you. But you wanted to break me. Her lips trembled. And now, I added calmly, your fiancé knows exactly who you are. She flinched. I continued, he told me what you said about me. He told me what you planned. He told me how far you were willing to go. Her face fell. Daniel wouldn't. He already did. She went pale, cold, frozen. You ruined everything, she whispered. No, Angela, I said softly. You did. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the glass rattled. It was over for her, but not for Tobias. Not yet. Later that evening, Daniel asked to speak to me privately. We met at a small cafe. He looked nervous. More nervous than usual. Zuri, he began, I need to tell you something. What is it? He hesitated. I didn't tell you everything about why I warned you. I frowned. What else? He took a slow breath. I wasn't just grateful for what you did for my business. I stared at him. He continued carefully. I overheard Angela and Tobias planning to harm your public image. My stomach tightened. Harm how? Daniel's voice dropped. By releasing fabricated stories, false accusations, things that could destroy your company's reputation. My hands curled into fists. But I stopped it, he added quickly. I shut it down. I stole their evidence. I erased everything. Why? I whispered. His eyes softened. Because people like you, honest, hardworking, principled, deserve protection. I swallowed. Something warm fluttered inside me. Not romantic. Not yet. Just human. Thank you, I said quietly. He nodded. You deserve justice. And you? I asked. What do you deserve? He exhaled. Freedom, he said simply. I ended my engagement this morning. My eyes widened. You did. He nodded. She didn't take it well, but after last night, I couldn't align myself with deception. I regarded him with newfound respect. Daniel, I said gently, you didn't have to choose a side. He smiled faintly. I didn't choose a side. I chose integrity. And in that moment I knew, he was not like them. Not even close. A week later, the consequences began rolling in. Tobias received official warnings from regulatory boards regarding suspicious financial activity. His company partners distanced themselves. His accounts were flagged for review due to attempted unauthorized transfers. His business reputation started collapsing, and the commissioner filed a formal complaint, a legal blow Tobias never expected. He came to see me one last time. At my office. He looked defeated. Eyes sunken, shoulders heavy. Zuri, he whispered, please, tell them to stop. I'm losing everything. I inhaled deeply. Everything you tried to take from me, I said softly. His eyes filled with tears. Real ones. Forgive me, he begged. I was confused. Influenced. Angela, this was not Angela's plan, I said. You both planned it. You both wanted the same thing. He fell silent. Utterly silent. You made me feel safe, I continued. You told me you loved me, all while plotting behind my back. He trembled. I never meant to hurt you. Intentions mean nothing, I said. Actions built the truth. He wiped his face. What happens now? You face what you created. He looked at me, voice breaking. Is our marriage over? Yes, I said quietly. It ended the moment you betrayed it. He cried openly. But I felt nothing. Not anger. Not hatred. Not joy. Just closure. A month later, I received an invitation to Angela and Daniel's wedding. Except, it wasn't an invitation. It was a cancellation notice. They had broken off the engagement officially. But the real twist came during a meeting at a government office a week later, a meeting we all happened to attend for unrelated reasons. Angela walked in, head high but spirit bruised. Her father was with her. And Daniel. When he saw me, he stood up respectfully. Good afternoon, madam, he said. His father turned to him. You know her. Daniel nodded. She's my boss. Angela nearly fainted. Her eyes widened in disbelief. You're what? She choked. Daniel repeated calmly. My boss. The entire room went silent, because now the hierarchy had shifted. The narrative had flipped. The truth was undeniable. The woman Angela mocked, the woman she called poor, was the boss of the man she was supposed to marry. Her fiancé. Her future provider. Her rescue. And not only that, his father, the commissioner, turned to me with a deep bow. My apologies again for any misunderstanding, he said sincerely. You have my full respect. Angela's knees buckled. She sat down abruptly, unable to speak, unable to breathe, unable to recover. Karma had arrived. Quiet, elegant, deadly, just the way betrayal deserves. 6 months later, I was free, divorced, protected, stronger. My company expanded into 2 new cities. My hotels gained international clients. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Real peace. Tobias faded into the background. Angela avoided me completely. Their family kept their distance. But not Daniel. He checked on me often. Respectfully. Quietly. Never crossing lines. We weren't lovers. Not yet. But we were something new. 2 people who had survived betrayal. 2 people learning trust again. 2 people who understood integrity. And maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning of a new story. Not revenge. Not bitterness. Just healing. When people underestimate you, let them. When they betray you, observe quietly. When they try to break you, rise silently. And when they expect your downfall, let your success be the answer they never saw coming. Because sometimes, karma doesn't come loudly. Sometimes, karma walks in wearing a suit, carrying files, and calling you, my boss.